Same audience, they did go for Avatar, they did go for RRR.
RRR and Avatar would anyway have always done well. Hollywood versus Bollywood, Bollywood versus South. We're doing too much of that. We are storytellers, right? And when I get excited about a story, I want to tell it in the best way that I can. Bajrangi, I remember there was this chatter about, you really want to do a film with Salman at the peak of his career, where he's an action star, where he's not beating up anybody, he's only getting slapped around by people. You know, Pathaan is coming, it's got this unprecedented hype and excitement around it, and I really hope it does fantastic business. Hi, I'm Kabir Khan and you're watching this interview on Bollywood Hungama.
Kabir Khan, welcome to Bollywood Hungama.
Thank you.
Kabir, I'm interviewing you at a time when industry is going through some kind of a change. Everyone has their own opinion and views, how they look at this. At this point, as a maker who's going to get into his next project, what is your frame of mind?
So honestly, Rohit, for me, I cut out the chatter.
Right.
Because yes, of course, there's been a bit of a paradigm shift post the COVID. Things have changed. Viewing habits, viewing patterns, just the way people spend money, people's appetite for risk. You know, everything has changed, whether it's amongst the audience, whether it's amongst the people in the industry, actors, directors, producers. But at the end of the day, I mean, we are storytellers, right? And when I get excited about a story, I want to tell it in the best way that I can. So there's no point trying to then, bother about the kind of people are, the analysis being done, oh, this is the trend, this might work. Because honestly, we've also seen in the recent releases, nobody knows what works and nobody can predict like whether this film will go up or down. So I think the only thing that I can do as a storyteller is stay true to what excited me about the story, what made me want to make it, and just focus myself on saying that the best way I can do it. And keep my fingers crossed.
Right. But there's been a change in the way you think now. If I take you back to your earlier films, like how you would think, there's something more on your mind. Ye karna padega. People watch it much more closely.
Yes and no, Rohit. Yes, I won't. I'll be dishonest if I'll say that I don't think about it at all. As to sometimes you do try and understand has there been a shift in perspective of the audiences or not. But having said that, ultimately when I sit down to write and make it, it's my gut instinct again. Because I think that's the only way you can truly make your films. There's no way that even if you try and understand what's happening, there's no way that you can reorient your storytelling, because that will be dishonest. I firmly believe that every filmmaker makes the film he or she likes to watch.
Right.
And that, I think, is the only prism through which you can make a film. Because the moment you start second guessing for somebody else, you'll go wrong. Chances are you'll go wrong because you don't know the other person. You don't know, then you're just trying to, you're doing something that you don't inherently understand and like, and you're assuming somebody else will like. So I think you have to make it the way you like to make your films. And as I said, keep your fingers crossed that a large number of people sort of
go and watch it.
But
is there a, this may help some other younger filmmakers, how to cut out the chatter. There's so much chatter on your phone, people coming and tell you everyone is a trade analyst, everyone has a view also and have a platform also. How do you cut the chatter?
It's difficult, but I think the first thing you have to do is stay away from social media as much as you can, because that's just too much chatter happening. And along with the chatter, unfortunately, a lot of negativity happening. So there are not too many positive solutions, but there's no dearth of negative opinions and analysis. There's no point. You can't approach your work like that, right? You can't be in a negative frame of mind and always be afraid in what you're doing. The one thing that you have to have as a filmmaker is courage.
Right.
And you cannot always go with conventional wisdom, because if you go with conventional wisdom, it'll hold you back.
Right.
Every time somebody's pushed the envelope, it's because they've gone against conventional wisdom. Even in my own career, there have been times when people said, why would you want to do something like this? Why don't you go this way? And I tried and pushed, and those times it worked. Whether it's, if my first film, Kabul Express, with no love story, no songs, nothing, it worked for me. New York, politics was taboo. They said, why would you? So but we did a really political film where the protagonists die at the end. It was a huge commercial. You know, with Bajrangi, I remember there was this chatter about, you really want to do a film with Salman at the peak of his career, where he's an action star, where he's not beating up anybody, he's only getting slapped around by people. And I said, I don't know, it's the story that's telling me to do this.
Right.
We did it. It worked for us. So I'm saying, you know, you have to be able to learn how to cut off the chatter, and I think the one big starting point is stay away from social media as much as you can.
That's the key. Yeah, absolutely. You know, but you can't ignore the fact that you can't ignore the business output that 90 to 95% of the films in 2022 failed.
Yes.
How do you know? डर लगता है ये पढ़ के ये सब सुन के?
Yeah, but if you really look at it, there are several factors, and we cannot not pay attention to the fact that there was a pandemic that just shifted everything on this planet.
Yeah.
You know, it's not only our little industry that we are talking about. Across the globe, things have shifted, and there has definitely been a shift, as I said, in viewing patterns and expenditure patterns, and just the way people are approaching things. And of course, there will be a flux, and there has been a flux. There have been some films which are really good films, which should have done better business. There have been some really terrible films that didn't do business. They wouldn't have done business even if there was no pandemic. So I don't think, you know, sometimes we also have these knee-jerk reactions and this hurry to start predicting trends, you know, because we also have seen in the last 3-4 months the kind of films that have come and done really well, which every trade pundit was saying would not do well. Take Drishyam 2 for example, right? Look at the kind of business that film has done. But everybody was saying no, only spectacles will work, you know, things for the youth and love stories. There's no love story over there. The protagonist is playing the father of a grown-up girl. It's not really a spectacle film. It's story. It works brilliantly, right? So I'm saying we really need to sometimes not be in a hurry to try and predict trends and try and overanalyze. It's a very dynamic creature of a film. You can never really predict what's going to attract people and what's not going to attract people.
But you know, these same audience, they did go for Avatar, they did go for RRR. But what is this pattern? Is there an understanding that they will? How does one, according to you, decide they will watch something?
An RRR and an Avatar would anyway have always done well. They're good films. You know, I don't think it's this versus that. I think we're also making too much about the divides. We're doing too much about Hollywood versus Bollywood, Bollywood versus South. We're doing too much of that. I'm just happy that every time a film does well, it shows that people are still interested in a film, right? Today it might be a film from Hollywood or from the South. Tomorrow it will be a film from the Bombay industry. You know, Pathaan is coming. It's got this unprecedented hype and excitement around it, and I really hope it does fantastic business. And then the moment it does that, will people say, "Oh, Bollywood is back." We don't know. That film brought it back. Maybe there may be some films after that might not do well, but that's natural. That's the natural state of the industry. So as I said, I try and stay away from over-analyzing and trying to fit everything into trends.
Right. But you know, the reason people were saying suddenly South is doing well, because quite a few films suddenly did well and also, you know, went to crazy numbers. So doesn't it look like a trend to you?
I don't think the number of films that we're talking about can give you a trend. Because, you know, you're actually at the end of the day talking about 3 or 4 films. Right? 3 or 4 films spread out over 5-6 months is not a trend. A trend has to exist for a longer period in time with many more films. I don't think that is happening. You know, there are films from Bollywood that have done well. You know, there has been a Bhool Bhulaiya, there has been a Drishyam. So I'm saying, I would not, as I said, you know, stay away. I would stay away from getting into this game of trends.
Right. You know, but there were also films which were very good films, and you know, we all enjoyed it. But people decided to watch it when they came on OTT. This is what you're saying, when the change has happened.
That's a straight
pandemic change.
Obviously, I mean, I can see it in myself. I am not going to as many films and I used to pre-pandemic, and it's not because it's thought out.
That's because you can afford the popcorn and parking. Why are you not going?
That's what I'm saying. Something has shifted, and it's not something that's thought out. It's something that just the other day Minnie and I were talking about, and I realized, yeah, we're not going back to the theatres as much as we used to. What has happened? Is it just the 2 years of staying away, in a certain sense, taken away the stamina of going to a theatre? But something has. And if I'm not, then, somebody who's not really related to the film industry and is just a normal, average, middle-class person, probably is also going to take time. But I'm very sure, I'm very positive, it's definitely going to come back.
Right.
Because there's something about theatre viewing that will never be replaced by anything. There's something about community watching and viewing of a film that cannot be replaced by any other medium. And if it had to, it would have done that in the West before us, in Korea before us. Korea is a very, very interesting example. It has, because people talk about this whole OTT and OTTs taking away theatrical, right? Korea has, we all know, the strongest OTT content in this world, right? We are all lapping it up, let alone them.
K-dramas are,
Along with that, they also have 100% broadband penetration in Korea. You can literally sit on the street and be streaming, right? So strongest internet connections, best OTT content. But along with this exists one more fact: highest per capita theatre going audience in the world. Right? So that means there is something that draws them to the big screen also to watch content. So I'm not, as I said, the death knell for the theatrical releases has been announced too many times. And I'm sure everything will slowly go back to normal. I mean, you might call me an optimist, which I am, but I do believe that things will go back to normal.
Right. What was the last thing you watched in a theatre and you enjoyed?
The last one that I watched
was Avatar? Or
Avatar was not the last one. Avatar, of course. Actually, let me say Avatar because I saw it at the IMAX. And it was an unbelievable experience. I think it's just the joy of... See, also, every time we do go back, Rohit, after the pandemic, I think we get extra joy. Because sometimes it's just the pleasure of seeing 1,000 people sit together, munching away on their popcorn, watching a film. I mean, that in itself is a thrill. And then if the film is good and as engaging as Avatar, then obviously, it's fabulous.
Your film 83 came during the pandemic. And do you think if it had come slightly later in today's day and age when people are going, it would have done better business?
For sure. Because, I mean, I don't want to say it because it's my film, but I am now have a distance from that film to know that 83 is by far the best film I've made as a filmmaker, as far as craft goes. And I've not met anybody who has seen the film who has not liked the film.
Of course.
But yes, our timing was very bad. We jumped into the second wave, and the fact that from 4 days into our release, Delhi shut down. By the time our first week ended, 9 states had shut down. So you can't fight that, right? And so therefore, yes, initially for the first month or two, I was really depressed about it. I was really sad about it because it was really a work of passion, and it was a work of passion that came together so beautifully. I think the actors were brilliant. The technical departments, really did a fabulous job. The VFX, nobody even realizes how much VFX. People don't realize that 83 has more than 3,000 VFX shots because it's what we call invisible VFX. It's not the VFX that screams out and says, "Guys, I'm VFX, watch me."
This is the magic that people don't know.
They don't realize that the ball was not there. They don't realize that the players are on a different plane. The boundaries are on a different plane. The audience is on a different plane. The buildings that are the stadiums don't exist today. They are on a different plane. So there are 3, 4 layers going into each shot. But it's invisible VFX. You don't notice it. And in our country,
that's the victory of it.
Unfortunately, for me, the best VFX is a VFX that's not seen. But that's not the way our sort of industry approaches it. I think we try and we appreciate VFX that's seen and it's in your face much more. So for sure. But I said, now that I have distance from it, and also I can gauge it from the fact the kind of love that I've got for this film is probably 3 times of any of my film, or I would say actually all my films put together. And I have made some films that got a lot of love from the audience. So for almost 6 months post when it came onto the OTTs, I would wake up to at least 10-12 messages, and the messages that would come for 83 were not the usual kind of messages that you get for one of your successful films. They say, "Hey, great job, had a lot of fun, entertaining." I was getting like 2-page, 3-page catharsis, people crying and emotional and talking about their how they, when they were kids and they watched it with their parents, what their father went through. So it's been it'll always have a special place in my heart. But yes, of course, to answer your question, I do believe that it would have done much better had it come in normal times. And but I guess that's life.
Right. But also since you said this, you think, I'm sitting facing you with a wall like which has national award, all your posters. You think this was one of your best works?
As a judging as a director, as a somebody who has the craft of the film and what you can do with material, by far. Because it's one of those, every other film I would look back and I'll say, oh shit, I should have done this, I should have done this. Oh, I could have created this and crafted this better.
Right.
When I look back at 83, it's not been too long, but it's been, a year now. I would not change a thing.
You would not change a thing?
I would not change a thing. It's just one of those films that everything came together exactly the way so I own every second of it.
Amazing. Yeah. It shows, and like you said, the love you got is what speaks volumes about it. Kabir, you have also worked with leading stars. This is going to be your way of filmmaking, that these are star-driven films also, which is why they turn out to be expensive films. Yeah. Do you think there should be some correction there at least?
Yes. So post-pandemic, I think all of us are making corrections.
Okay.
For sure, because one has become aware that the theatrical pie is shrinking. So therefore, I think every film, not just me, all of us are being very careful about what we spend, and we're trying to make sure that whatever we spend is on what is coming on screen. Because a large part of sometimes the budgets of our films are on elements that are not seen on the screen. Okay. That's the stuff that everybody's trying to cut off. So we can't compromise.
For example, for a layperson to understand,
for example, the size of a crew.
Okay.
Don't travel with 150 people.
Yeah,
Try and make it with 100 people.
Right.
Don't make everybody fly business class.
Right. This is where you can easily cut.
Don't stay in the most expensive hotels in the cities you go into. Stay in comfortable places, but cut all that kind of stuff. Don't have 20 vanity vans if you can make do with 10.
Right.
All those kind of things that don't really show on screen, but really add up over a 100-day schedule.
Yeah.
Be very careful about wastage, whether it's in your production design. Make sure, a lot of times you would say, okay, let's make this set, and give me a 360. I don't know where I'm going to turn my camera. Don't do that. Do some more homework.
What is not needed.
Yeah, and say, give me 180 degrees, I'll manage in that. So we plan more, and we're doing that. And it's a great, see, it's not that we've not done that before, right? I have made a Kabul Express in 3.5 crores. So you have to go back to making a film and saying, oh, I only have 30, at that film I shot in 38 days.
Right.
So even in the number of shooting days, if you can try and see how you can control it. Again, not compromise the way you would want to mount your film.
The product should not.
But just be aware of the wastage that takes place. And a lot of wastage just takes place on film sets.
Right. Those stars you work with, this level of stars you work with, is this possible to cut down so much?
It is, because Rohit, everybody down the food chain is understanding this.
Okay, that's good.
Because at the end of the day, it reflects on all of us, right? All of us want our films to be declared successful, and ultimately it's a function of the budget.
Right.
Right. So I think whether it's the stars, or whether it's the directors, or whether it's the producers, even the technicians, everybody is today aware that yes, I think we have to tighten our belts till things come back to normal.
Right.
See, pre-pandemic, things were 400, 500 crores were on the cards for films, right? So now I think we'll have to wait till that happens again, and it will happen.
It will happen.
For sure in the next year or two, and then we can maybe have a little more luxury.
Right.
But till then, I think we should tighten our belts and make sure that we make the films in as tight a budget as we can.
That's amazing. So we are sitting in January. When do you start shooting your next? We know only this month that you're making a film which has Karthik in it.
Yes.
That's all. We won't push you to tell us more. But when do you start? When does it go on?
So we are right now in the prep stage.
Okay.
Karthik still has his a film, Satya Prem Ki Katha, that he's shooting.
Right.
So I think that should be over, I would say, by March.
Right.
So I think we should be starting around April.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talking just about Karthik, what appealed you about him? Do you like him as an actor? Did you enjoy his movies?
I always go for people's energy, and there's something about the character that once I've written the character, I have that character in mind. And Karthik is one of the most exciting actors today on the horizon. And so I met him, and I met him with an open mind.
Okay.
We said, let's meet. It's not not meeting you to offer you a film.
Okay.
But let's meet, because there has been some we had some chats before that also. So I said, let's discuss ideas. I'll tell you what I am doing. At that point in time, I had not locked on this script.
Okay.
I was working on a couple of ideas. No, this was one of them. But I said, let me tell you the kind of ideas I'm working on. Let me understand from you what is the kind of stuff that you would like. And so we met for dinner, which I think we both thought will probably be an hour-long dinner. It turned out to be more than 3 hours.
Wow.
And I really liked his energy. I really liked his passion for films. I really liked the fact that he wanted to do he didn't want to get stuck in only doing one kind of genre. He wanted to do two different kinds of films. And something that I must say, I've never mentioned this ever before, but what was very refreshing about Karthik, and I met him, I think, post the release of Bhool Bhulaiya 2, which had already been declared a blockbuster. And trust me, when you meet an actor post a huge success, you have to reserve at least half an hour to hear about their film. And Karthik never spoke about Bhool Bhulaiya. He was just talking about the kind of work he likes to do, the kind of work that he would like to do with me. And I think that's really refreshing to have somebody who's really on the cusp of becoming a superstar at that point in time. Today he's already been dubbed the superstar. And yet, really talk about films and craft and stories. And from there, then, it all began. I shared the stories with him. He really resonated with it. And then I began to see him as my character.
You liked his energy and that match. That's why you all are working together. What do you think about his work? He did a Bhool Bhulaiya which was different from Freddy, where he was this quiet guy, completely different. Did you enjoy his work? Anything that you saw?
So, that shows the hunger and greed in an actor, right? And there's nothing better for a director than a hungry actor. An actor who's trying to reach out for different material, an actor who's trying to break out of his comfort. Because in this industry, too many people go into a comfort zone. In fact, my biggest complaint with this industry is that the moment you hit success, you start replicating what you became successful with, and I think that's really boring. Because I think success actually gives you the opportunity to reach out for other variety. When you're not successful, when people say, "Ye theek kar raha hai, tu yahi karte rahe." But when you're successful is when you can reach out for different things, and that is what I liked about Karthik. When he became successful, he didn't say, "Oh, let me keep replicating it." He said, "Okay, can I get this? Can I get this? Can I try that?" And that is something, as I said, it's always a very refreshing element.
Right. Will it be a Karthik we've never seen before?
Without doubt, I can say that.
Wow, that's so looking forward to that one. Another one part of business has changed. The other part, you said, I go with my gut, and you make the films that you want, and you cut out the noise. One thing also, another thing that your filmmaker can't ignore today is that you may make something with a dialogue or a song or a color or something, someone may get upset. Does this play on your mind?
It has begun to play on my mind, because you're right. There are too many instances of very arbitrary things being picked up and being made into an issue. But at the same time, I'm noticing most of it is on social media. So if you are somebody like me who's a little insulated from social media, you actually don't even realize it's that big. It's people who are really into the social media. In their mind, those issues are really large and big. And I've seen this because I've consciously been trying to stay away from it, and sometimes I realize that if you don't see it, you don't even know it's there.
Ignorance is bliss.
But having said that, it is a nuisance. It can affect sometimes the release of a film. You don't want that, because there's somebody's money riding on that film. So you can't be like, "Oh, I don't care." You can't be in La La Land. You have to have some level of awareness of what's happening. So yes, I think I am a little more conscious of some things that can be taken in a wrong context or can be misconstrued, and that's sad, because as creators we should not be doing that. We should be, we're irresponsible enough to know that we won't do something deliberately to hurt anybody's sentiments, and nobody wants to do that. But at the same time, you can't be looking at things with a microscope and trying to just pick up things to create trouble. That's something, a color or one line or one word or that you cannot pick up that and then bring down the vision of the entire film or the director into just that, or they're trying to do this deliberately. I think that's nothing but nuisance value. So yes, one has to be a little careful. Maybe we do a sort of a double check once we've written to make sure that there's everything is kosher, everything is as far as we know and as far as we can imagine, it's not going to hurt anybody's sensibilities.
Right.
Despite that, sometimes things that
yeah, things can be go out of hands at any point of time. So since you are not there, do people come and tell you कि कबीर ये देखा ये बोल रहे हैं लोग? How do you get to know that?
Sometimes some of my statements have created a huge racket in social media, leading even to some serious threats. And there happened. I don't want to mention what it was because it'll just bring the whole thing back. Yeah. But there were some threats to me, and I was blissfully unaware of it till I got a call from the police saying that, do you want some security? And I said, why do I need security? And they said, there's a lot of chatter on the social media. But I didn't. I said, that's really for you to tell me. If you think I do need it, please send them. But otherwise, I would like to stay away from it. But again, had I suppose that not got that call, I would not have even known of this storm, and it would have passed in the next 4-5 days, like most of them do.
But it's scary also. So cops are really doing a job where they also have a job to do to protect you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Also, talking about the same thing. You choose not to be on social media, but when it comes to your release, will you come back? Because you have to put out the poster, you have to put out a trailer.
We do that, feedback. But the audience knows that. The audience knows that this picture aa rahi hai, so ye release kar raha hai. So they don't take me seriously. I don't think anybody takes me. I post mostly, my photograph. I love photography, so I love traveling cities, taking photographs. I love putting that out. Right. Obviously, when my film comes, the marketing team says, "How can you not put it out?" So I do the mandatory posting, but I'm not the person they're going to really follow because they know, he's not, his heart is not in it. So I leave it to the actors, like in 83, I would leave it to the expert who's Ranveer Singh. He's the master of social media. Or a Karthik, when my next film comes out. There are some directors, of course, who are very active on social media and really engage. I think they should do it because at the end of the day, it's up to you, whatever you are comfortable with. I'm not comfortable. I've never been comfortable with social media. I prefer like chats, so if you're not comfortable with it, why push it?
Sure. Every filmmaker I interview has a different style. Someone would start into the film and also plan what they're doing after that. Are you a one film person, or have you planned what you'll do after that?
I am a one film person. I'm a pretty, I get blinkered, but having said that, it's not that I don't, because at any given moment in time, there are 2-3 ideas that are exciting you. So sometimes I've managed to put those into some sort of, development, so that by the time my film is over, I'm ready to jump into that fully. But I don't always do that because also I am a writer-director, right? So the time taken between 2 films for a writer-director is always that much more. Because I'll never be able to just pick up somebody. My dream is that I get a script and I read it. I said, I want to make this the way it is.
That's possible today.
I told you, it's my dream. It doesn't happen unless I sort of jump into the screenplay. I feel I'm not owning the material.
It has to be a script you relate to.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, any script is a reflection of what you are, right?
Absolutely.
There are some films that can be overtly political. There are some films that the politics will run in the layers beneath. And all that is a reflection of your ideology. It's a reflection of what you are as a person. So I believe that I can only do that if I'm really part of the writing process. Especially the kind of films I do. My film always, I like to believe, have some layers of some social, political commentary running through it. Because that's the kind of cinema I like watching. So that's the kind of cinema I try to make. As I said, some could be more overtly political, some could be all in the layers beneath. But there'll always be that element. And I know that there is an audience, one part of the audience that knows that this is the kind of cinema I make. They expect it from me and they understand that from me. So yeah, there is a certain minimum amount of time that I need to spend on a screenplay. But yes, there have been times. I mean, right now, actually, I am sitting on 2 ideas that I'm very excited about. And I hope I will be able to put them into some state of activation before I start shooting, so that at least something of a first draft is ready before I.
You said we'll see a Karthik we've never seen before. We'll also see Kabir's work we've never seen before.
It will be impossible for me to say that. I'd like to believe that, but at the end of the day, that's for audience to say. Are you repeating yourself? Because they'll always, that signature is always there, right? Every filmmaker has a signature and should be there. You can't be just to be different. You can't take away your signature, because that's the end of the day, as an artist, that's something that anybody who sees 20 years from now and who's followed your work will say, yeah, this is his film or her film.
Right.
But having said that, yeah, I have not done a story like this before. It's a very exciting story, and hopefully, yeah, there'll be new shades of me that you'll see.
Right. So, you keep in mind what your image is and what your stamp is. Are you also making this filmography? This is what Kabir Khan should be known and remembered for forever. After 20 years also, when people see he's the guy who made this.
So I'm not planning my filmography.
Okay.
I don't plan my filmography. I just react to stories, and it could be a headline in the newspaper. It could be a story somebody just mentioned to me. It could be something I experienced during my documentary days, and I pick up a lot from those days, because I believe that was a very rich experience that I had at a very early age, where I traveled to 70, 80 countries doing documentaries. So a lot of my raw material comes from there. So I react to stories, or in the case of Bajrangi Bhaijan, it was a 2-page story that Vijayendra Prasad sent me, and I got so excited. So I'm saying I've never planned that this kind of a film should be my next film, or if I'm doing this, then I should follow it up with something like that. No, I've never done that. I go with the flow.
Right.
And most of my decisions in my life, as far as my career is concerned, have been what I think is a gut instinct.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, I think that's what it needs to be. It's not too overanalyzed or too thought out. It's something that's exciting you. It's something that's just compelling you to make it. And I go with gut instincts, whether it's casting or whether on that day what kind of shot I want, how I want to mount that scene.
Right. Everybody talks about, Kabir, how calm you are as a person, and then you work with these big stars. My question is, are you ever in awe of them? How do you handle them is what my question is. So is it as difficult as people make it out?
No.
Or
actually, that's what I like to say. It's never as difficult as people like to make it out. Firstly, no. I've never been, as a person, I've never been in awe of somebody. I've really admired people.
Yes.
It could be, film stars, it could be writers, it could be sportsmen. I've really admired them. But I've seen myself, I've never been able to hero worship anybody. So for me, it's about some aspect of somebody's work that I really love, but it doesn't always extend to the personality, because I've also realized that sometimes that's a mistake we make, that when we love somebody's work, we try and put that onto that person and assume that great work means a great person. And I think that's not a right way to look at a person, because 9 times out of 10 you will be disappointed by that person, because it's not necessary that a great person only can create a great piece of art, right? So no, I've never really been a hero worshipper, but I've admired people, and when it comes to actors, even as you write, I've worked with some sort of mega stars. There's never been a position of being in awe, but yes, I've always respected for what they've achieved and what their position is. And I think handling actors, there's no one way of handling actors, because I'll tell you what, every actor is a different personality, right? So how can you handle 2 different personalities with the same approach? You can't. Ultimately, what is a director's job? A director's job, once we have written our scripts, once we've done what is the creative aspect of it, making the film is an act of war. It's like literally you are battling anything that can come and derail you, right?
Wow.
So it's about, I feel, a large part of a director's job is how to take 100 people's energies on that set and make sure that they are in tandem with you. That you're basically making 100 people believe in your energy, in your vision, and sort of pulling them forward. And one of those people, the most important, is your star, right? Yeah. So you just have to have, and now the approach can be according to that person's personality. With some people, it could be using a child psychology, because you feel that this person is childish. Maybe if I use this. With some people, it's okay, let's have a talk, let's have a chat, let's either you convince me or I convince you. So it's, I think, different with different people. And you understand that in the stage of prep of a film, you obviously meet the actor, you do narrations, you do readings, you do discussions, you understand that person and that person's personality, and that's the way you approach them while you're making the film. But having said that, I've never seen, I've never understood, when people say, oh, that star interferes a lot, or that, it's, how can it be, in fact, I would say that if my actor does not interfere enough, I'll be scared, because then I'm thinking, this person's not interested, this person's brain dead. I don't want a creative person to come onto my set and say, I want you to do this, and he does that. I want him to turn around and say, can't I do this? And sometimes when they say, can't I do this? I say, I didn't even look at it that way.
You're okay with that?
I love it. I always want, not just me, if you actually, in my team, even with my assistant directors, there's no hierarchy. My junior most AD knows that they can come up to me and say, don't you think it'll be better like this? And I might dismiss it in 5 seconds, or it might spark off something in me and say, I never thought of it like that.
Right.
Because I think the worst thing a creative person can do is become arrogant about their creativity. You can't close yourself up and be that arrogant about your creativity that there is no better way of looking at it. What I like to do is that I will take in a lot of opinions. I might shut them all off and throw them all off and still do. But I'm going to take them in, because once in those 10 suggestions, there will be one that you would not have thought of. And you would have said, this is better than what I had in mind. And it's happened so many times. Whether it's been a suggestion from my actors, whether it's been from my DOP, or whether it's been from some of my assistants. I've got a suggestion, it's made me realize, I didn't think of it this way, and this is looking better. And I've done that.
Nice. Recently I interviewed Ali Abbas Zafar also. He was talking about working with Salman Khan, and he said that he had a great experience. From where I am sitting, Salman Khan is just looking at me from the Tiger Ka poster. You tell me your experience with him. Like, what
Fabulous. See, you cannot take away from my filmography Salman Khan.
Correct.
At the position that I am because of my association with Salman. Some of my biggest films are with him. And I have had some fabulous, I mean, when you make 3 films, obviously you're going to have a lot of experiences. And I have, as I said, had a very good working relationship with him. I've really enjoyed the films I've made with him. And as I said, with him also, he's full of ideas, and he'll always come and he'll give suggestions. I never look at it as interference. I'm very happy that Salman Khan is coming and thinking about what I've told him, thinking about my scene and thinking of my character. Now, I might not agree with him.
It's a way to look at it.
And there have been times when we've not agreed about it, and we have argued, and he has sometimes sulked, sometimes, but it's always been either I should be able to convince him or he will convince me. It's never been a breakpoint like, okay, I'll shoot it like this and like this. It's never happened like that. And he's not that kind of a person. Even he will, and I must say this, again, not something that I've mentioned before. One of the things that I've probably ended up making 3 films with Salman is that, and remember my first film with him, the beginning of the Tiger series, which of course went on to be commercially very successful, was my film after New York. I just made Kabul Express and New York, and Kabul Express, I mean, a successful film, but not in terms of the way you talk about mainstream cinema, right? New York is a successful film. But again, not at the levels that Salman has seen. But never in all my arguments, and that film was probably the one where we had the most arguments, because it was the first time that we were getting together. Never in my journey of Ek Tha Tiger did Salman ever take that position where he would say that, listen, I'm Salman Khan, I have 50 blockbusters, you made 2 films, so why are you arguing? Never. And that's an amazing quality to have. It was never like it's my way or the highway. He would sulk, he would argue, he would do that, but it would never be, just कहते हैं बदतमीजी कभी नहीं. And that's a great quality to have for somebody at that level and that position that he's acquired in the industry. So yeah, it's been, as I said, for me, each experience has actually been a very good experience because, I have always believed, Rohit, that I'm doing what I love. Right? And I get paid a lot of money to do what I love. Can I ask for a better life? So I'm the documentary filmmaker who came from Delhi with a dream कि एक picture बनानी. I want to make that one film. At least in my life, I should be able to say that I managed to make that one film. And I made that film, Kabul Express. Right? Now, for me, honestly, it's not just, I'm not trying to sound like a guruji, but for me, after Kabul Express, everything is a bonus. Because and that's something I think is very important. I even tell a lot of people who work with me, I said, never forget your original dream, because if you keep that in perspective, you'll always be happy and satisfied. It's only when we start, pushing our dreams up and saying, oh, I'm not happy, my last film didn't do well, because come on, you are being paid to do what you love. I feel like I've never worked in my life. Because I love being on set. I love making films. So it's you're following your passion. It's never been drudgery. It's never been, oh, I have to finish this assignment or anything. So really, there can be no complaints. If you've been on a journey with actors who are so successful, so popular, who are legends, and you have your name attached to them, you have sometimes helped in making that journey better for them also. What more can you ask for?
That's amazing. You look at it in that way. That's really important, and that's why you are a happy person. And you
I
do
think
what,
that's the only way to
that's-
be, especially in this industry.
Right.
You know, you can't be too much about your failures and successes. And I often said that you know, if you don't take your success too seriously, the failures won't affect you. It's when you take your successes, because this industry makes you feel like God. When you have a blockbuster,
Huge hit,
you are God.
Yeah.
And God forbid your next film doesn't happen and you've taken that too seriously, you'll come spiraling down.
Right.
So I think you have to remain even keel, and I would give a lot of credit to that attitude that I have to my initial 6 years in Yash Raj. That's something that I must mention about Yash Raj films and Aditya Chopra and Yashji, the way they, you know, you are what you are irrespective of what your last Friday was. You know, it's not like anybody in Yash Raj is going to treat you differently because you've just delivered a blockbuster, or they'll treat you differently because your film didn't quite, you know, do as much business as it's supposed to be. It's like a cocoon. And I think that was really important, especially in the formative years, because those first six years where, you know, Adi gave me 3 very distinct films to do. If you look at Kabul, New York and Tiger, they're very different kinds of films in terms of not only scale and budget, but also the kind of storytelling and everything. So I think that really, I must say, helped me in getting that attitude towards film. So that's the reason why I feel blessed and really happy that I'm being able to just continue making the story. I mean, ultimately that's what success is for me, that you're able to continue to make the stories that you are excited for. The day I'm not being able to do that and then I have to follow somebody's diktat saying, nahi, ab to ye bana, then I'll realize that, okay, now I'm not successful as a filmmaker. Now I'm just doing it as a job and I'm sort of, you know, doing it maybe for the money or to keep the things going. But till the day that I'm being able to choose my stories that excite me and I get somebody to back me and I get actors to collaborate with me, I think I'm really successful.
Nice, right? What you're saying is that those 6 years are, for everyone who starts, are your formative years, are your schooling years.
I mean, Yash Raj is my school.
Yash Raj is your school. Lastly, before you go, what will you watch on the big screen next? Excited about Pathaan? You know Shah Rukh Khan very well.
I'm very excited about Pathaan and I'm really looking forward to it. So it's definitely going to be, but unfortunately, 25th of this month, I'm traveling to Rotterdam because the Rotterdam Film Festival is screening Bajrangi Bhaijaan on the 26th. So I'm actually going to miss the premiere of, not the premiere, but the first day of Pathaan. But immediately, as soon as I'm back, I'm going to watch it. But I'm really looking forward to Pathaan.
Great. Kabir, we are looking forward to that and we are looking forward to what you do next. Keep this going because you are doing what you love. You're also doing what we love.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kabir. Thank you, Kabir. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Kabir Khan and you're watching this interview on Bollywood Hungama.